Hey guys, in today's video, I'll show you the best settings for your controller in Warzone, even if you don't have a scuff or any modified controller. I promise if you follow these settings, you'll start noticing massive improvements in your aim and movement, which will result in higher kills and more wins. So let's get into it. To start off, we need to change our button layout for our controller. So when you first start the game, we're all set to the default layout, and that's totally fine for most players. But if you do want to improve on your aiming and your movement, you should definitely look into switching it. So if you're like the majority of players that uses a regular controller with no paddles or buttons in the back, that's totally fine. You definitely don't need an expensive scuff or any modified controller. So for me personally, I use a regular PS5 controller with no paddles, but I did switch to the bumper jumper tactical, and it made such a huge difference in my movement. So what this allows me to do is I'm able to jump with my L1 button and slide or crouch with my R3 without ever moving my thumb off the analog stick. So I'll admit it took me a bit of time to get used to it, but once I did, I was able to bunny hop and slide cancel very easily. So, just trust me, take some time to get used to it. And once you're comfortable with this new layout, you'll wish you've done this a lot earlier. So what's next on the list is our dead zone. For the minimum input dead zone setting, which is these two, your left and right stick minimum input, this is used to adjust the distance your joystick must travel before any movement is triggered. So the lower the setting is, the more you have to move your joystick and the more sensitive it is, and vice versa. The higher the setting means the joystick is less sensitive to any input. So ideally, we want the setting as low as possible for a maximum response time when you're aiming. So I have mine at 0.00 for my left and 0.004 for my right. And I'll go over pretty much the reason why I have it at this setting. So not every controller is the same. Some controllers have varying amounts of stick drift. And stick drift is when your character or your aim starts moving even when you're not moving your analog stick. So to properly configure this setting, we want to start our dead zone at 0 and then keep increasing it until there's no more stick drift. So for over here, you can see that my left stick minimum input dead zone is at 0, and that's because my character is not moving left or right. So say if you have yours at 0 and your character starts moving like this, see the slight aim over here? That means you would have to adjust your dead zone just a little bit. So what I would do is keep going up by increments of 0.01 and then until your character stops moving. So I'm gonna set it back to my default, which is 0.00, just because mine is not moving. However, for the right analog stick, which is more common with stick drift, we want to adjust it. So as an example, I'm gonna put this up to 0.0. Oh, let's just get this guy right here. Okay. And then what we want to do is, I think we'll start seeing some stick drift over here. So there, you can see my crosshairs are starting to move, right? And to do this more accurately, what I would do is open up your map, and then you can see that my cursor on the map is moving, right? So we want to increase this by increments of 0.01 every time. So I'm gonna go at 0.01 and see if it still moves. Oh my god. Okay, so to recap, we want to adjust our right analog stick so it stops drifting. So if you look in the map, you can see that my map, or my cursor on my map, is still kind of drifting. So over here you can't really tell, but to see it more accurately, you want to look at the map. So I'm gonna keep increasing this until it doesn't move. Here you can still see that it's moving, so I'm gonna do it a little bit more. And yeah, it's still moving a little bit. So if I leave it at 0.04, it doesn't look like, actually it's moving just a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. So I'm gonna move it a little bit and see if it drifts. Yeah, so it's still going. And at 0.05, I think it should be good. But yeah, so basically it's not moving anymore, and this is the setting that I want to leave it at. And for the max input dead zone, I would just leave this at 1. If you decrease it, you won't have to move your analog sticks as hard, but since we want a full range of motion, we should just definitely leave these at the max setting. Next thing we want to change is our stick sensitivity. So I cover more on this in detail in my other video, but generally I like to stick in the 6 to 8 range, and for me it works really well for me. I'm still able to keep my crosshairs and centering on point most of the time, and I'm also able to center on guys very easily. So I wouldn't go too high, like 10, 10, 12, or even 20 if you're crazy, just because you'll find that you start overcorrecting on your aim a lot, and you really don't need to go that high, because even with 6.6 or 7.7, you're still able to turn on people super quick. So I would leave mine at 8 to 8. For you, I would experiment, maybe start at 6, 7, or 8 and go from there. And then for my custom sense per zoom, so this is the trick. So even if you go high on your sense, you're still able to customize your ADS sense when you actually aim down sight. So if I look to the left and right over here, you know, it's moving at an 8.8 sense, but when I do aim, this is actually moving at a lower sense. So by modifying this setting over here, we actually are able to keep our ADS sense multiplier at a pretty comfortable level without compromising this setting. So hopefully that made sense. I'll show you a formula right here, just so you know what I'm talking about. So now we're on to the aim response curve type, and there's 3 options to pick here. There's standard, linear, and dynamic. So I'm gonna show a screenshot from the exclusive Ace here just to give you a picture of how these 3 options are different. So the default and what most players are using is standard. And how that works is that your aim starts off slow before it starts ramping up, depending on how hard you push your right analog stick to the left or right. So this can help with more controlled aim movement, and I would probably recommend this for beginner, or maybe if you're like a lower kind of skilled player and you're trying to improve, maybe you can start using the standard option. The next option is linear. So with linear, I actually have never used this, but just doing it, just using this from this video, I can definitely tell a difference. And with linear, there is no curve and there's no gradual buildups, right? So whether you move your right analog stick slightly or a lot, it all feels the same. So this might be a good setting for a feel of consistency. However, you won't have that snappy kind of feeling in your aim. So I'm not a fan of this option personally, but you can definitely try it out to see if it works for you. So alright, so the last option in the aim response curve type is dynamic. So this is what I use personally, and it's also what a lot of other high level players are using. So like standard, we're able to have a very fine and precise movement with our aim, even when we're barely moving our right analog stick. The difference with dynamic and standard is that the dynamic actually has a faster build-up speed. So we're able to pull off those like fast side-to-side movements, and we can snap on enemies a lot quicker when you move your stick all the way. So I definitely recommend this option for everyone, as it gives you that precise aim and that snappiness when you need it. Or if you're like an aggressive player like me, I think this is the option to go with. Alright, so after that, we want to turn off our controller vibration. If you have this enabled, this will probably just distract you when you're in a gunfight. I would definitely leave this in disabled unless you're a weirdo and like that feeling in your hands, but no, we'll leave this at disabled. Alright, so next up is our aim assist settings. So we have 4 settings here: disable, standard, precision, and focusing. So for this, we definitely want to keep this at standard. So this is the best setting despite what anyone tells you. So precision and focusing, they don't have rotational aim assist, and that rotational aim assist, it helps a lot in close quarter gunfights. So the standard setting has been the default setting for all of the previous Call of Duty titles, and will likely be the same for any future titles. So to be consistent and to take advantage of the rotational aim assist, I would definitely leave this at standard. Disabled, that's pretty self-explanatory. Don't use that. Stick it with standard for sure. Next one is the scale aim assist with FOV. So I have always left it at disabled. So with disabled, I'll explain. So with disabled, the aim assist is a little bit larger, so you get a bigger slowdown around the target, but it's actually less stronger inside the character hitbox. So with enabled on, the aim assist is stickier, but you have to get your aim practically inside the character hitbox to activate it. I personally like to have it disabled, and it's what a lot of other high-level players use. So you can try experimenting with both, but I would recommend disabled. All right, so after the aim assist settings, we'll just go over each one over here. So weapon mount shared input, I leave this on ADS plus melee. Weapon mount movement exit, this would be enabled. Aim down sight behavior, always on hold. Next one is toggle. I'm not sure who ever used that, but yeah, I would definitely use this on hold. Steady aim behavior, I would leave this on hold. Equipment, hold as well. Next up is the U/reload behavior. Leave this on contextual tab. This saves you a lot of time with your button movements when you have to reload, or when you have to, say, pick up a weapon or an item. This is the way to go. Depleted ammo weapon switch, I leave this on enabled. I don't think it really matters. It really depends on what you want, but for me, I have it on enabled. Armor plate behavior, I would leave this on apply all. So this saves you, time in not having to hold triangle on your controller. So armor plate behavior, I would leave this on apply all. This would save a lot of time in gunfights and actually save your ass as well. So you don't have to hold triangle multiple times. It's pretty much just one hold, and you'll be able to plate up all 3 plates at once. So on to movement. So slide behavior, I use tap. I think that's definitely the way to go if you want to help with your movement. Auto move forward, definitely disabled. Tactical sprint, I don't think this really matters, since you can see here on the right that tactical sprint is only used in multiplayer and co-op modes, and that's for this setting, okay? So for this setting, automatic sprint, I have it on auto tac sprint. So this is really good if you're pretty aggressive, and I would definitely recommend it if you're trying to improve your movement. So yeah, I would pick the last option, automatic hold. Yeah. So yeah, I would pick the last one, automatic tactical sprint. This one, I have it on enabled. So for parachute auto deploy, I have it on disabled. If you have it on enabled, just put it on disabled, because you can land a lot faster, which is super important, especially when you land in a hot drop with enemies. So have it on disabled. And that's all for the controller settings for today. If you follow these settings, you'll start noticing immediate improvements in your gameplay. Let me know what settings you use in the comments below, and if anything has helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, which would really help since my channel is super small. But yeah, until the next time, YouTube, peace.